Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. I'm calling this meeting of the CDA Selection Committee to order on December 29th, 2023 at 9:02 a.m. Jackie Harris, our city councilor, is out of the office today, so Nan Baker on our staff is going to be filling in. Nan, could you please call the roll?
Committee Person Keong,
Present.
Committee Person Alexander,
Present.
Committee Person Gracia,
Present.
Committee Chair Pfeffer.
Present. Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes. Does everyone have access to the minutes? And does anyone have any comments on them?
Noel, is it the November 6 minutes that we're approving today?
I believe so, but Kevin, could you please confirm?
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you. Hearing no proposed edits to the minutes, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved. Second.
All right, thank you. Motion has been made and properly second. And could you please call the roll?
Member Keong,
Aye.
Committee Member Alexander,
Aye.
Committee Member Gracia,
Aye.
Committee Chair Pfeffer.
Aye. Thank you all. We can now move on to the third and more substantive item on our agenda, review of requests for proposal for issuance. And we have two RFPs that we will be pursuant to your approval issuing today. The first is pertaining to the installation and management of community Wi-Fi. And I'm going to provide a brief overview of this, and then Simon Huang, the city's chief technology officer, is also going to be joining us shortly to answer additional questions about how this fits in to the city's digital equity strategy. But at a high level, the Community Development Administration was appropriated $5 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds, state and local fiscal relief funds for digital equity, which we're deploying to expand, invest in digital equity in multiple ways. And that includes both directly providing access to Wi-Fi, as well as investing in digital literacy efforts, affordability efforts, and the Affordable Connectivity Program, and other projects. A lot of that work is flowing through SLDC and Tech SDL in terms of the broader investments into digital literacy and getting folks access to more affordable Wi-Fi on the market. This is a separate effort which was recommended as part of the city's digital equity action plan that Simon can speak on more if he's able to join us, but that seeks to graft Wi-Fi access points onto the city's fiber network in key commercial corridors and along various parks in North and South St. Louis. The idea is to provide free access to Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi to the public in public areas. And so with that, this Wi-Fi, and perfect timing, Simon showing up just as I'm talking about this, but at a very high level, this RFP asks our contractor to do a few different things. The first is to provide us with the materials and supplies, those access points, and then secondarily to install them onto the city fiber network. Thirdly, to manage the network, and finally, to provide support to folks who need it if they have trouble accessing the network or anything else. So with that, I'm Simon. I provided a very high-level overview of the RFP and also how it fits into the city's digital equity strategy and action plan a little bit more broadly, but would love if you want to talk at a deeper level about the city's digital equity action plan and how this fits into it, and any other details you want to provide. Floor is yours.
No, just as additional background, the
addressing the digital divide is one of Mayor Jones's platform priorities. Earlier this year, actually, we contracted with a national consultant called Guidehouse to kind of assess the assets that the city had, look at what our peer cities were doing, and then recommend some ways forward that we could utilize the little funds that we had to address digital equity in the region. And they left us after about 6 months worth of talking to stakeholders internally and externally, looking at all the assets that the city had, additional research and studies that were done by other consultants on the same topic. They left us with an action plan which recommended 10 separate projects that the city could conceivably execute on. And one of these was addressing community Wi-Fi, or helping residents who could not afford or procure internet access at home, to give them resources in the community where they could access Wi-Fi and or maybe devices to do whatever they needed to do to participate in the digital economy. So this is one of those projects which addresses the MLK corridor and some parks. And that's the RFP that we're going out to have somebody install and maintain these access points, so that we're not tasking the internal IT team to take care of all this infrastructure.
Thank you so much, Simon. Do any members of the committee have any questions either for Simon or myself?
Noel, I know you worked with ITSA on this. Can you talk about how CDA is going to work with them and roll out? I understand you're taking away, just I'm sure due to capacity issues, to have a third-party contractor, but I would assume it's important for them to work in conjunction for some of this.
Absolutely. And initially, the plan was to simply transfer these funds to ITSA and have ITSA run the RFP, et cetera. They asked us to take the lead just to support with capacity. As this committee knows, we issue RFPs on a pretty regular basis. However, operationally, once the contractor comes on board, CDA is the pass-through from a fiscal and compliance perspective, but the contractor will be working directly with ITSA and Streets Department staff to graft the access points onto the city fiber network. And in fact, we're exploring, and I'll toss to Simon because I think you've got the details on this and a clear understanding of it, but we're exploring allocating a portion of ARPA funds to ITSA/Streets directly for additional staff to support this work as well. Simon?
Yeah, and we are still actually awaiting this RFP and some of the discussions with the selected contractor to completely understand what those handouts might be. Some of the people that we've talked to in terms of references have had good experiences where the third party manages most of it. There are going to be some questions that come up in terms of help desk type services, where if a resident is trying to connect to an access point and they can't connect, or they haven't been able to connect for a while, where are those calls actually routed? So that's yet to be determined. And if it is determined that there needs to be somebody internally or within ITSA Streets that needs to handle it, that's when that additional funding transfer would take place.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
It's not necessarily a question, just noticing there's a comment in the exhibits that just flagging for you guys to resolve before you post it.
Thank you, will do. I know that the exhibits there, we had some questions about how best to incorporate them into the RFP. They come directly from the Digital Divide Action Plan. And there's some subtle differences between that and what's ultimately in this RFP that we want to make sure are resolved. So thank you for that. I really welcome any additional questions because this is, I think, pretty unique. We obviously haven't done this before, and so we want to get it right. So we welcome any input or feedback. But definitely very, very grateful for Simon's leadership, as well as ITSA's partnership in putting this together. All right, hearing no further questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the issuance of this RFP.
So moved.
Second,
The motion has been made and properly second, and could you please call the roll?
Committee Member Kyung,
Aye.
Committee Member Alexander,
Aye.
Committee Member Ingracia,
aye.
Committee Chair Pfeffer.
Aye. By your votes, you have approved us to issue the Community Wi-Fi Installation and Management Services RFP. We'll also be sure to share it with, ITSA has provided a list of vendors that we're going to make sure receive this so that we do get responses. The next item on our agenda is archaeological survey services. And this is really about environmental review compliance and historic review compliance. And Simon, by the way, I know you're very busy, so you're welcome to stay on, but also totally understand if you want to hop off. But this is about Section 106 environmental and historic review compliance, which our HUD-funded construction projects trigger. And one element of historic review involves an opportunity for indigenous communities, in our case, the Osage Nation, to comment. And one of the flags from working with the Osage Nation they made is that they really wanted to encourage us to issue a new RFP and explore new contractors. Because CDA currently does have a contractor on retainer. It's called ARC, which I forget what that stands for, but one of our team can share that, but they've been wonderful to work with in terms of providing archival reviews, on occasion mobilizing to do shovel tests and digging into the soil. But at the prompting and out of respect of the request of the Osage Nation, we're issuing this or we're proposing to issue this RFP to explore additional providers, and the Osage Nation has provided us with a list of approved providers of these environmental review and historic services that we will share this RFP with. So that's a little bit of background. Any questions? Hearing none, and ARC, thank you, Anne, stands for the Archaeological Research Center. And that's our current contractor, and we'll compete for this as well. But and we may ultimately wind up with multiple contractors who can do this work in different circumstances according to the demands of the environmental review.
The only comment I have, it's not a question, it's just formatting at the top. If you would like to add the questions are due by the 12th and you're going to respond by the 19th, similar to what you guys have in the other RFP.
That's a good idea. We'll do that. Alrighty, hearing no other questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve this RFP for issuance.
So moved.
Second.
By your motion, you've approved CDA to issue the Archaeological Survey Services RFP. And with that, we will, oh, sorry, no. We should call for a vote. Anne, can you call the roll?
Committee Member Kyung,
Aye.
Committee Member Ingracia,
Aye.
Committee Member Alexander,
Aye.
Committee Chair Pfeffer.
Aye. By your motion, you have authorized CDA to issue the Archaeological Survey Services RFP. And we move on to the next item on our agenda, which is extending the deadline for our archaeological services RFQ, which we issued a month ago. We unfortunately received no responses to that RFQ, and therefore are seeking this committee's authorization to extend it through, I believe we said January. Tom, when did we say we would like to extend it through?
January 31st.
Thank you. And Tom has also expanded outreach to the Construction Forum AIA chapter here in St. Louis. And we welcome the committee's guidance on any other outreach that we should consider in order to attract architectural firm to support our design review process here at CDA.
Noel, is this something that we're hoping we can find local? I would assume that there would be local firms that would be interested and capable of doing this. Is there a way to let them know, or is it more likely that a bigger national type firm would be a better fit?
I think that our assumption and preference would be a local firm. And I think the best way is probably through the local AIA chapter. And I think we actually did try that in the first round as well. But we're going to try and make more concerted outreach. But welcome any recommendations, anything that you all can do to share this with your network, so that we do get a response in the coming month.
Okay, thanks.
Noel, do us a favor. I'm happy to push it around. Can you send us an email with the RFP link? That it would be an easy forward for us.
Yes, absolutely. Kevin, or Tom, can you follow up with that? Wonderful. All right, I'll entertain a motion to authorize us to extend it
So moved to January 31st.
to January 31st.
Second,
Thank you. Anne, could you please call the roll?
Member Kyung?
Aye.
Committee Member Gracia?
aye.
Committee Member Alexander? Committee Chair Pfeffer?
Aye. By your motion, you've authorized us to extend the RFQ through January 31st. And then finally, we'd like to schedule our next meeting. And I think it probably makes sense with 2 RFPs closing on the 24th and another closing on the 31st, to schedule that for early February. What do folks' availability look like the week of the 5th?
Tuesday and Thursday look pretty good for me.
Right. Perhaps how would Thursday at 10 or 1 or 3 look like?
I could do 10 or 3.
I can do either of those as well.
Great. Let's do in that case Thursday at 10 a.m.
That was Thursday, which day?
Thursday, February 8th.
So we have a HUD TA for CDBG DR 10 that morning.
Never mind. Thank you. We'll do Thursday at 3.
Noel, about how long do you expect to have the meeting scheduled?
We'll try and keep it under an hour as usual. I do wonder with actually with community Wi-Fi, we may want to do some staff interviews. I wonder if we can add an item to the agenda to allow to have you all authorize us and Itza and Simon to do some interviews in advance of that meeting. Would that make sense? Because I remember last time with with Grants Management Services, we initially convened the selection committee and then determined, hey, we really should do some interviews. I think if we could get that preemptive authorization, we could hold those interviews because we'll have we'll have applications in by the 24th. And so we'll have 2 weeks to conduct interviews before the 8th, and then we can bring a clearer recommendation on the 8th. I'm sorry, all this is a way to answer your question, because if we hold the content of the meeting will be different depending on whether we will have held those interviews beforehand or not. But I will say that we will try to keep it under an hour.
Okay, yeah, I'm not worried about how much time it takes. I just want to make sure I set enough time aside on my schedule. Because it seems like I mean, it's not like complicated, but there's probably going to be a lot of questions. I think it's helpful if you are willing to take on some of the question asking and interviewing to the respondents beforehand. I'm fine with that. I'm also happy to do some of that within the committee if other people think it's appropriate. I don't have a preference on either one.
Yeah, and I think to your point, maybe we should hold an hour and a half on the calendar, just because it sounds like we will be making 3 selections. Would the committee be amenable to having CDA, ITSA staff, and the city's chief technology officer conduct interviews beforehand? If after we conduct those interviews and bring the recommendation and the information to the committee on the 8th, the committee still wishes to conduct additional follow-up interviews with any vendors or shortlist of vendors, that would of course still be entirely appropriate, but I do think that it would allow us to move forward a little bit more expeditiously.
I move that we approve CDA, ITSA, and the information technology officer to conduct interviews prior to our February 8th meeting.
Second.
Thank you. Anne, can you please call the roll?
Committee Member Kyung,
Aye.
Committee Member Ingracia,
Aye.
Committee Member Alexander,
Aye.
Committee Chair Pfeffer.
Hi. By your motion, you've authorized us to conduct these interviews. Thank you very much. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. I'll see you all on February 8th at 3 p.m. Motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Yes,
Happy New
bye.
Year.
Happy New Year.
Bye.